Hi, everyone. Welcome to Kingdom Heirs Book Club. We are reading, as you can see behind me, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. We are here today to go over, I think we're like in the third part of the book, and then we'll be covering the last quarter of the book. So we broke it up into 50 pages per read. And so we're on the third quarter of the book. And so we are really just breaking it down and just sharing information and just growing together in our knowledge and stripping away the old and just getting a new mindset to prepare us for our millions of dollars that are coming our way. And so we thank you for joining us. And for those that are watching the replay, we encourage you to get the book and read it. We'll probably give a review at the end. But so far, so good. So far, so good. We're going to go ahead and get started. We do have some slides to show.
Okay, let me share my screen here.
Let me see if I can access it from my side.
Oh, well, I did have it pulled up here, but, oh, there it goes. Okay. Okay, here it goes.
So, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth. And just be another moment. I'm trying to pull it up on my end as well so I can see it much better. Is that what you received, Jennifer?
Yes, that's why I was saying it's a video. It's not slides, so I didn't know if you wanted me to pause through each thing.
Okay, it doesn't look like my slides because the first slide should have the title of the book cover.
Yeah. Okay, here it is.
Okay, I'm seeing
but
more.
It plays as a video.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and bypass the slides today, unfortunately. Okay, so for today's discussion topics, let's go ahead and we're going to talk about taking the actions that you need to get rich. Had the slide so I could see Kim as well. And then creating new habits. That was on last slide as well. And we're going to roll that over to this slide as well. And then we're going to talk about money management. Now, there was 4 areas. There's income, and that's where we go to work every day and exchange our time for a paycheck. There's also passive income. And then savings was the next bullet point. Investments was the next. And then simplification was the 4th. And I just kind of, feel that they all run together. You have a job, you then take your money and save it if you can. And then eventually that will turn into an investment where you can multiply your money and get a bigger interest off of your money. And then also, I think I'm in the 4th bullet point of where I won't call it downsizing, but that's a good word to use because I know that the American dream, we work so that we can get a bigger house, nice cars, nice vacations, vacation homes, whatever our list is. But I'm on the end of, I'm preparing for it. And I love how he put it, long-term balance. And so I want to make sure that between now and the day that I expire, that I live the life that I choose to live. And so what we've been doing, Kingdom Heirs, is we're helping people build wealth. And so, and that's and sometimes you have to be creative with your investments, creative with your going from an income to trading that in for passive income. Sorry, got telemarketers call me. Calls coming through. But you know, a lot of people feel as though that they work their job and then that's it, that they work, pay bills, and we all here play the cash flow game. And so the game always starts that we all have a job, and we play the game, and then we make money management moves to take us from the rat race to the fast lane, which is living the life that we choose to live. One part that I didn't put in there in my notes, but I think it's important to mention, it talks about selling. And so I do have a background in selling. I used to own several salons at one time. And in one of my salons, I had a retail store. So when you came in and got your hair done, I had the perfect set of earrings for you. I had the take-home products for you. So I always had things that I even sold T-shirts. I sold designer hats. So, you know, not only did you get your hair done, but I sent you, there was not too many people. And even the stylists would also, they got into it also. So every nice hairstyle needs some nice earrings, you know, so, or I think I sold jewelry sets. I know, Jennifer, you're in the, your side hustle is your insurance portion, and that requires selling. So why don't you talk about how you incorporate that outside of your full-time job? How do you gain your customers?
So basically with insurance, and honestly with since the COVID environment, I haven't been doing, you know, quite as much of insurance as, you know, previously, because although we do have capability to do it online now, usually we go to people's homes. But basically how it works is that we actually get leads from the company that I work with, where people, you know, they've sent out forms, and people that are interested in insurance, you know, they fill out the form, send it back in, you know, we get the leads and everything. But at that point, it's basically what we do is it's a free service to come out and sit down with somebody, go over their options to see, you know, where they're at financially, what kind of gaps that they may have, where, because insurance can be, I mean, you can use it as if you're just looking for a simple life insurance policy, but you can also use, there's also investment policies, and they're not like, you know, the old school whole life, which we do have those as well. But there's some really great investment plans with life insurance. So that's really what it's about, is just kind of sitting down and covering them with people, letting them know what they can qualify for based on, because there is a life insurance component, you know, there is a medical, you know, you have to qualify medically. But that's really what it's about, is just sitting down and going over people's options and everything. But, you know, like you, what's interesting is I've always had some kind of a thing, you know, on the side, you know, when I was younger, I had, for a couple of years, I had an eBay store. And I did that actually when I left, let's see, I got out of the military, I had gotten married, and I was going to school full time. And I just, you know, like I said, I always had some kind of little side thing going on. So what I did at that time was I had, it was a clothing store where, you know, that store, and people always pronounce it two different ways. So whichever way you pronounce it, but I pronounce it Aeropostale. You know that store in the
Yes, yes.
So I lived near a outlet, one of their outlet stores, and they would sell things like really, really cheap. at the outlet stores. So, I mean, like $40 pants, they would sell for like $7. So what I would do is
Wow.
I would go and I would buy them in bulk because it would be like the last season, but really khakis and cargo pants, how much do you really change, from season to season, So I would
Yes.
go and buy like in large bulks, and then I would put outfits together and take a picture, and I'd sell them on eBay back when eBay was real popular. And then people would buy that, like for the pants, I'd sell them for like $25. But that was still cheaper than the $40 that people were paying in the store,
Right. That's
So yeah, so that was just one of my things I'd put together, like little outfits. And so I always had some kind of a thing going on. So like it's that entrepreneur mindset has always been there. Like there's,
And how was the profits for you?
The profits
So you would
were
take
great. Yeah, the profits were great because really there's almost no overhead, because especially if you're doing it out of your home, really all it is putting the articles of clothing together and make an outfit. Sometimes I would do them individually, and post the picture on eBay. And then, once people would pay, I'd charge, a certain amount for shipping once people would pay. So like, for example, the pants would cost like around about $7. And then like, say like the long sleeve or short sleeve t-shirts, they would be like $3 or $4 at the outlet. And so a whole outfit is like 10, 12, the hoodies are a little more, but a whole outfit would be what I paid was like $10, $12 tops. And then I would sell the whole thing for like 30 or 35,
You know what? That is huge now. I see that a lot of people do just that. There's a lot of apps and a lot of websites. So that's a freebie, you guys. If that's something that you too are interested in, you definitely can make a profit. And Kim, I know you're an accountant, so I'm just going to give you a scenario. Tomorrow you go to work and they say, you know what? We need to cut the budget. We need to find areas of growth. And if you find them, we'll pay you according to, your findings. So between you and Jennifer, you both are accountants, and say, okay, I need you to, who can save the company XYZ amount of dollars, and your pay is based on your findings. What would your thoughts be? If it turned into like your job, what you do on a daily basis now is based on your productivity.
Okay. Well, that's definitely 1 minute, David.
No, my YouTube is done.
Sorry.
Y'all were at
I'm
home.
gonna let Jennifer go first, and I'm gonna come right back.
Okay.
Let me see. Well, I think, productivity definitely is more incentivizing. It's more incentivizing when you know that you can, just like it talked about in the book, I can't say that I have a specific idea in mind, but I guess what I'm saying is that when you know that you can automatically, you're going to make based upon what you're putting out, you work that much harder, you will try to, your productivity will be a lot greater than versus if you're just in a salaried position and, you could be working very hard and the person right next to you could kind of,
Riding on your coat.
Yeah, I can't say, at least not in my current position, I can't say that I, have a specific idea, But yeah, definitely productivity. If I was getting paid off of productivity, cool. Even, I can use insurance as an example for that, because like when I'm doing insurance, that's based on, my actual productivity. So what I'm making.
If you were to sign in tomorrow and they say, Jennifer, we had to do some cutbacks, we have to let you go. How would you grow your business, your insurance business?
Well, in that case, because insurance is already based on productivity. It just means you're going to work that much harder. You're just going to try to book that many more appointments. You're going to try to, it's not going to be a just sit back and, let what comes come. So.
And I know it's hard, Kim, being an accountant. I know that's not on productivity, but,
I tend to be more of a high producer when it comes to stuff like that. So when people talk about putting you on productivity and standards for that, that's never been a problem for me. I, try to find different, ways to like streamline things, make it more efficient. I always kind of joke about, one of the good things about growing up poor is that you know how to live on a budget. So you definitely know how to trim the fat. Certain things definitely pop out to you of what is excess, versus just kind of where you can cut things where you need to. And so I know one of the things that I did with one of my former employers, doing the books for him, was kind of like going through things and pointing out different things that I found, like, oh, do you realize you're charging this person, you're charging them for rent, and then you included this in there, for their utilities, but their utilities are costing more than the rent that you're charging. So you're going in a hole every month by renting to this tenant. So, bringing those types of things to their attention, and they're like, oh, we didn't realize this was going on. I said, well, yeah, you got a problem here. So pointing those types of things out, it just kind of, part of what comes along with it. But, you also look at it this way too. If you don't know how to cut expenses and make things work more efficiently, and the company itself doesn't do good, then you don't want to have everybody on a sinking ship. But the only way to keep it afloat is to try to keep it profitable.
Exactly. I know a lot of companies have gone under by not being, and that leads us right into money management. And some of the things that, and I know that we are living in a time where you can manage your account right from your phone, but I pulled some things out, some of the things that he talked about. So I do have a jar. Anyway, it says vacation. I have a vacation jar. I have neglected it. There's nothing but pennies in there. But, he encourages us to start saving money daily to create new habits. And then I am a believer of that if you expect checks in the mail, you'll get checks in the mail. I'm a witness to it. So if I truly believe in that concept. So I am going to start activating my jar. I also used to be a Dave Ramsey facilitator for financial freedom. And this is an envelope system. Yeah, let me turn off my background. Let's do that. Let's see.
I used to do that envelope system as well. I did that for actually probably a year and a half, 2 years. And then I was able to, by the time I had been doing it so long, it really helped because I got to the point where it was, I kind of knew automatically what I was, it became such habit that I didn't necessarily need to
that new habit formed. So this is what it looks like. There's envelopes in there. Remember layaway? You put things on layaway, and it's kind of like, so it has the categories, the dates. If you're a person that keeps records. I still have my little book here, and then I guess if you want to, it has a little clear thing in there, but that's neat there. And then setting up an account where you can, how you go to the store and they ask you if you want to round up. You can set it up on your own account to where you round up, because they do make a lot of money by doing that. You can set up your bank account now. I have, I'm from Connecticut, so my very first checking account I still have. When I turned 16, I had a checking account. I still have that account. So I would have money automatically deposit in there. I automatically have, before I even get my check, I already have my money dispersed. So I live off of what is left over. So I do pay myself first. So you know, some jobs allow you to do that. And if there's any other ideas that you guys use, you two are accountants. So, you know, what are some of the ways that you allocate your money?
So I know I'm a very firm believer in buckets, you know, so I call it buckets for different things. And when I set up, you know, my budget, or, you know, I keep everything on a spreadsheet for the most part. I do have a QuickBooks account as well, but my budget I keep on a spreadsheet. And I'm, like I said, a big fan for buckets. I have, and not only that, I use a brokerage account actually instead of a checking account, because my brokerage account through Fidelity does everything that a checking account does. But what the current time right now with the interest rates where they are, it's not making a whole lot of difference. But up until, you know, recently, till when, you know, COVID hit and all that, and when they started dropping the interest rates, my thought process is I want my money that's sitting in there while the bills are waiting to be paid to gain as much interest as possible. And in a checking account, they're not going to do anything. But in a brokerage account, your core position is a money market account. So you're at least getting, you know, something off of the money that's sitting in there. And then I actually have, I have four brokerage accounts, and I have ones for different savings goals. Like one of them, and I've combined it with a couple of things, but like one of them is my vacation fund account. And I have things, and that's one of the things, you know, like I teach in my classes, is I have things invested per the types of savings goals that they are. Some of them are shorter term goals, so I have to invest them in things that are more like bond funds, for example. But at least I'm getting more of a return than it just sitting in my account. Now, obviously, the things that are just my bills, those are not, you know, I'm not investing that much. That's money's just sitting in the money market account that, you know, but the different buckets that I have for different, you know, savings goals, you know, like I said, I have a vacation fund one, I have my emergency fund in another, I have a Christmas fund in another. I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now, because I know I've got, you know, several different things. And then I invest those things based upon the length of the, you know, how liquid do I need that money to be? Is it a long-term thing? Is it a short-term thing? And so that way that at least it's doing something for me. It's not just sitting in various like checking accounts or even savings accounts, because we know now, you know, they don't do anything really for interest. So like I said, I'm a real big, and like for my, and I think I've talked about it in videos before, like my vacation fund, basically the money that I put in there is I run everything that I can through a credit card that's a 2% cash back. So those are bills that I have to pay anyway. So I might as well get something back for it, you know? So I get 2% back on everything I put through it. And then the money that I get, I have two credit cards actually. One is 2%. The other one is 5% for anything I spend on Amazon. So when I get that cash back every month, that goes right into my brokerage account for my vacation fund. And then, you know, like I said, it's money I'm spending anyway. So it's not like I'm spending extra money to get that, you know. And then I put it right into my vacation fund, and, you know, and I can't wait to
You
take
have a
another one.
system that works for you.
Yep.
And what about you, Kim?
Well, I also, let's see, I do the cash back on the credit card piece. I don't allow myself to carry a balance. Again, it's just like regular purchases that go on there. And I mean, that's free money that's coming back to you each month. So you don't do anything extra for that. I haven't been good about setting up like a vacation fund. Um, that's one of those things that I really need my fun friends to help break me out of my shell, because, I just want to like save and, build up kind of like that rainy day situation. Um, just knowing that, I bought a fixer-upper house in a nice neighborhood. So, I do count on that a little bit as far as the equity that comes back on that. But also realizing what those expenses are when you do purchase a fixer-upper house, and knowing what parts of it are going to need to be improved in order to, keep it in a state where if something comes up and I need to sell, it is like ready to go basically at any time. So those are, a couple of things that I kind of look at when I do that. I also work, well, I know Jennifer uses Fidelity. I've been using Robinhood for like my stock trading, which I'm still in the up beginner when it comes to that. But just, doing a lot more research on the statistical piece of it to realize, where the best decisions can be made.
Mhm. And do either one of you have a play account?
Gosh, it's really hard for me to come up. I mean, I don't set it aside with that. It's just more of like a mental note kind of thing, just knowing exactly where I'm sitting at, checking in exactly where things are at. And, it's kind of like a mind over matter thing. Whenever you're coming up to purchasing, I used to have a real Target problem. When I'd go in there, you see all the shiny stuff, I get so distracted, coming out with all the stuff that I don't need. And, I kind of think back to one of the things that my brother-in-law, would tell my sister all the time, which is, did you go to the store to pick that up? Then why are you bringing it home with you? So, just really thinking about when you go into a store, what did you go there for? And if you didn't go there for it, maybe you shouldn't be coming home with it. So it's just kind of some of those mental notes to kind of keep you in check, and not making all those impulse buys.
So you need a play account. You need to set something aside. I don't have a play account, but there are certain things that I do for myself. Like I get my nails done.
Yeah.
And I'm really low
And I
key,
almost
but
consider,
say it again.
sorry. I was just gonna say, I almost consider my vacation fund like a play account, because it's, even though, that's kind of, it's kind of like a dual purpose thing,
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I do go on vacation, I pretty much this, I mean, I can be extravagant, but for the most part, on a daily basis, I'm not extravagant, but when I am extravagant, I am. So when we went to Hawaii last year, we did everything. Every vacation, I got to have a massage, and that's always a different experience. But you do got to do something for yourself. And some of the other accounts he talks about is education account. Even though if I do go back to school for my master's, that's something my job will pay for. But I do, I'm trying to build an online business. So I do take classes. So I do put that on my annual business plan. And so that's already incorporated in. So I do take classes all the time throughout the year to sharpen my skills. Long-term account, and I'll leave that for, and then he has a give account, a necessity account. And then we'll go over like the net worth tracking sheet. So Jennifer, I'll let you take over from there. Did anyone fill theirs out?
I don't have mine filled out because I basically already have it in, okay, let me see. I know I have this pulled up. Let's see.
So you know what your net worth is?
Oh yes, I always know what my net worth is. So here is okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this, I really like this. Renee had sent me this. I really like this sheet just for a quick and easy way to, always know where you're at for net worth. Like I've said before in other ones, I do QuickBooks, but that's only because, I'm also tracking my business stuff and I need to track all the expenses and, all of that kind of stuff. But for just a basic, especially if you're just getting started, this is a really great tool. And basically it just tracks you have the top section for your assets, and then the bottom is your liabilities. And your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. So it's got, it's the different categories, your cash and liquid assets, cash and bank accounts, bonds, term deposits, money owed to you, marketable assets, mutual fund stocks, real estate investments, your business interests, long-term assets, let's see, personal assets. One thing to note on here is when you're tracking something like your residence, like your home or even your car, you would want, in this section, you would want to put what the current value is, not what you paid for it. You would want to put your current value because that equity that you have in it is part of your net worth. So in this case, like your personal residence, you can go on Zillow. There's a lot of online different sources, but like you could go on Zillow, for example, to put in your the value. I do not recommend going to the county auditor site because the county auditor site is not real accurate as far as value. So like I said, Zillow would be an option. Vehicles, you can look on I think it's the Kelly Blue Book. There's the Blue Book and the Black Book, and I forget the difference between the two. But anyway, you can get an idea of what your vehicle is worth. And then in your liabilities, that's where you're gonna put, like, for example, like whatever your mortgage, which you owe on the mortgage. Same thing for like car loans, your credit cards, your taxes, all this other stuff. Because yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're reflecting your equity in your net worth, because for a lot of people, the equity in their home, unless you have a lot of, like real estate from other sources, outside of your primary residence, for a lot of people, their equity in their home is their biggest source of net worth. So this sheet just kind of, and it's got a, starting period, and you can track it every 30 days. And what it's really interesting to go back. And so like on mine, for example, in QuickBooks, they have this comparison tool where you can compare this time last year to this time this year. You can compare it by quarter. You can compare it. So you can kind of see, okay, well, am I increasing? Am I decreasing? Am I staying the same? Do I need to make changes? If I'm not moving, if I'm not going anywhere, is it because of my spending? Is it been factors that are outside of my control, like say in market changes, maybe real estate market changes, and that's made my home value go down? Because I had that happen. It started to recover and go back up, but like I had that happen on mine. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, why does it show that I went down such and such amount? And then when I went back and looked, and I was like, okay, it's because for whatever reason, the comparable sales, homes in my area had made, there'd been a couple foreclosures, and it made my home value go down. So it wasn't that my actual asset, it is an asset, but you know what I mean? It's not that it was something that I did that brought it down. It was actually the market value on my home. But then it started to recover again a couple months later. So it went back up. But it is a really nice tool to see. And what's so important about knowing your net worth at any time, and I've talked about it before, is that you want to know at any given moment what your net worth is, because especially as you start investing and you want to buy properties or whatever the case may be that you want to do, you need to be able to at a snapshot be able to say, okay, I can make this decision, or I can purchase this asset, or I can't. It's kind of like when we play cash flow. you know, you have that statement, you know what you have, so you can say, yes, I can do this, or no, that's a little bit too risky. I'm going to be putting myself in too tight of a position. So, like I said, it's always good to know where you stand at all times, because most people really don't know where they stand. They have no idea, and they have to sit there and calculate everything out. And, you know, but if you always have something like this handy that's updated, you know, every so often, every 30 days, quarterly, whatever, it makes things a lot easier. Okay, I'm gonna stop the share on that.
And we were kind of discussing this earlier because when I had taken the Rich Dad course, I had to fill this out, which I had never done that prior to that. But not only can you see where you stand, if you're going for a loan, they can see where you stand. And because everything's so accessible now, it should take you about no more than 15 minutes if it's not filled out, to fill it out. I know that the first time I purchased my first home, I mean, I had no clues, but you know, before you go to the bank, and I know this is it's related, but off topic, but you can know where you stand, like your credit score. you can know all of that before you go into the bank. So that way you're not spinning your wheels and chewing your nails, wondering if you're going to get the loan. You know you're going to get the loan or you're not going to get the loan ahead of time, because they do have a criteria for when you buy a car, when you buy a house. They already have, your credit score has to be this. How long have you been living at your residence? You know, they have a list that they go by. And so how long you've been on your job, you know, so those are some of the things, you know, you don't want to, if you're getting ready to buy a house, again, this is off topic. I don't know who it's for, but you don't want to go out and purchase a brand new car, because that will show up negatively on your credit report. But, you know, if it's just little minor things, that's something that you can explain. But the lower the credit score, the higher the interest rates. It's all a numbers game. But yeah, if you have a low credit score, you might want to do some things and build up your credit score. You know, just put it off for like 6 months to a year so that you can get better rates. And even if you get high rates, there's still ways around that to get a lower interest rate down the road. But these are some of the things you want to think about before getting into your first investment or your first home or your first car. So yeah, we were talking about that today. So those are some of the things that are real important when you're going out. But one of the things you were saying, the current value of your home. One thing about Robert Kiyosaki, he teaches that your primary home is not an asset. That's his line of teaching. He says that anytime you have an asset and money is coming out of your pocket and going someplace else, that's a liability, versus an asset is when the money's coming into your pocket. But I wanted to add that since then, the last book we read, you know, he talked about renting out space. And so, so you can turn your house to where you can make a profit. I was looking at an app called Neighborhood, where you can, like, the guy that was here doing my plumbing, he was like, "Oh, you have a large driveway." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'll rent some out to you." So, you know, there may be people, I have 2-car garage and I only have 1 car. I can rent out the other side. I can rent out, tape off a section and rent that out. I can rent out my whole downstairs. I can rent out one of the bedrooms in the back. So you definitely can turn that around to where you can get money coming into your pocket.
Well, and a perfect example of that actually is, and that's why I say it's really important to record where the current value of it is, because it absolutely can be used as a as an asset, because for example, something that I just did is because I have considerable equity in my home, where I live, the market values have just gone crazy in the last couple of years. And so what I just recently did is I took out a home equity line of credit that will be used to purchase, or to help, is not completely purchased, but to help purchase when I plan to do a flip on a house, because I did kind of, I don't really call it a flip, but I did like a halfway flip, I guess you could say, on my previous, it was my primary home to begin with. And then when I had this house built, I kept that house as a rental property for 5 years. And then when I got ready to sell it, I had to do a flip to get it ready to sell. I had to, I replaced all the fixtures, I replaced, carpeting, all the flooring in there, and painting and all that stuff. So that's what I'm looking to do now again here soon. And so I was able to use the equity in my primary residence to be able to put me in a position to, have the funding to do that. But what's nice is, being that it is, a home equity line of credit, I'm not paying any interest. I'm not paying anything on it at this time because I'm not using it. So it's just sitting there and available to me when the time comes. Had it not been for that, it's not that I still couldn't have done one, I could still do one, but that just made the process a little bit easier financially to be able to do it. So.
And that goes back to the income, turn it into a savings, and then turning it into an investment, taking your money that you earned and multiplying it down the road. And then another way of doing it is, I'm a buy and hold. So I definitely would take an equity out of a property and buy something else and let somebody else pay that bill. So that's the beauty of that. So you could have whatever the expenses are against, do your due diligence, do the numbers, because it's all about the numbers, and you buy to where the tenant pays for it. And you still make some passive income off of that. So that ties right into some of the things that we're talking about from this chapter. And then I'm sorry, Kim, did you want to add anything to the net worth tracking sheet or anything that we're talking about? Because you're the quietest one in the bunch.
Oh. No, I didn't want to add anything to that piece.
No, but back to the, I like what you said about the, checking the value of your car. So if your car is paid off, you go to the Kelley Blue Book. And if your car is worth that, then that's definitely something that you could put on the asset, and it'd become an asset if you were to sell it. And then also, as Jennifer stated, basically, when you buy real estate, one of the benefits is the asset, but or the equity in the home, if there is equity. But if you buy right and there's equity in the home, again, it is based on what the market will pay for it. So, some of the other benefits is tax benefits, the passive income if you do a rental, depreciation. So there's a lot of things. And then if you can get the equity out of there, do just like what Jennifer's saying, take that money and multiply it. And you could do that with a day job, or if you work nights, you know what I'm saying? If you go to work and you trade your time in for money, you could definitely turn that around. If you're diligent with your money management, I think Kim could help us out a lot with that. But I think being a single mom, you learn how to budget. It may not be formal, like with QuickBooks, like Jennifer uses, but trust me, if I bring home $500 and I got to stretch that out, oh, that's a budget. You know what I'm saying? So, so anyone can do it. And then as you grow, you can definitely get more sophisticated and use the QuickBooks and the apps of whatever you can use to make life easy for yourself. But you definitely want to, if you so choose, everybody's not into passive income. It may just be a saver. If you save 10% of your earnings over a lifetime, you're gonna have some money, you know. But if you get a little daring, you could take that money and then put it in some type of investment vehicle. I know for sure Jennifer knows how to outperform the market. And so you definitely, like I said, savings accounts, I don't even know what type of interest you get. And then if you don't have a certain dollar amount, they charge you. And I may be just talking from the credit union that I'm associated with, but if you don't have a certain dollar amount, they charge you a monthly fee to put your money in the bank. And then they take your money and use, I don't even want to get on that soapbox. But at one time they used to compete for our business. Hey, bring your money over here. We'll give you this in exchange for you bringing your business over here. Now they give you nothing. And so those are things to keep in mind when seeking out someone to hold your money.
Well, and
So
you know,
some of the
something
final
interesting
tips.
I was just going to say something interesting that I wanted to add to that. And it kind of, you know, for example, like the home equity thing and just an overall, I guess, finance tip or investment tip. And it took me a long time to wrap my mind around this. And it took two different friends, you know, trying to pound this into my head before I finally realized it. And it started to come together and make sense for me, I guess. Is that and both of them are you know, well versed in the real estate, you know, market, you know, and the two of them kept trying to explain this to me is that like, for example, the flip that I want to do, my thought process was, okay, so I have this home equity line of credit. Okay, I have my certain amount of cash that I'm willing to put into it. And my thought was, okay, well, I'm going to put my cash into it first. And then the difference, whatever else I need, I'll take out of the home equity line of credit. So that way I don't have to pay as much in interest. And it took me a long time to understand is, no, I want to use the entire home equity line of credit first because I don't want to tie up my cash. The interest that I'm going to have to pay is no different than a business expense. It's the same as if, you know, you're running your business and you have to pay for copy paper, you have to pay for utilities, you have to pay for, you know, whatever. The little bit that it will save me in the interest for the short term of like what I'm, you know, for the project that I would be working on is not going to make that much of a difference. But yet tying up my cash, you know what I mean, makes it a whole lot, it makes it a whole lot different. That way, if anything were to happen, I don't have that cash available to me. So it's kind of a mindset change. It's even like, for example, you refinance your mortgage, okay? And whatever the amount of money is that you, like when I had refinanced mine, you know, I ended up saving like $250 a month, I think it was. So my first thought process was, now there's two different thought processes. If it's going to be your forever home, then yes, absolutely, you know, pay down your principal. But if it's not something that you plan to be your forever home, it may only be for a few years. Because my first thought process was, well, why don't I just pay the extra $250 on the principal, pay it off faster? But you also have to look at it from the other perspective. Okay, so my interest rate currently on my home is 2.25%. Okay, so I can put that there and pay off that principal, and that's the percentage right there is what I'm saving. Or I can turn around and put that money in another investment vehicle. Like, for example, I chose at the time the market. And I was making, you know, like the last time I checked, my last year percentage rate, what I was making was like 27 point something percent is what I made, you know, for the year. So why am I going to put that money somewhere where I'm saving, you know, it's the 2.25, you know what I'm trying to say, 2.25% interest versus putting it somewhere where it's going to make over 20% interest. So, you know what I mean? It's just, you have to really learn to become creative with this sort of thing and really kind of think it through, because most people, the majority of people will tell you just pay down the principal, pay down the principal. which again, like I said, if it's going to be your forever home, then that might be, more worth it for you to do that. But if it's something you're only going to be there for, a few years, and you're going to be turning around and buying another house and selling it, just something to think about.
Glad that this is recorded. So you can come back. And you're a numbers person, so that's cool. And and I could tell you from my experience, for the rentals, I'll use that for an example, that there's no need to ever try to pay it off, because it's something that's going to be passed down. And again, you can keep just reusing it and keep growing and keep building your portfolio. So, but I'll let you stick with the numbers, because you're the numbers person. But just with the final tips, and I hope that was helpful for somebody, to where they don't have to be, that might be a light bulb for them. Final tips to keep in mind: that you are worthy. You're worthy to be a millionaire. You are worthy to be a millionaire. And for those that struggle with that, it's always going to be a struggle until you let it go. And one thing I always keep in mind, that, first of all, I believe in being a good steward over what God gives me, the vehicles that he provides for me to utilize, and for money to come through my hands, and that I am responsible. But at the end of the day, even when I get what I have now, and then when I get my millions, that it's his money, all of it. He only asked for 10%, and that's one of the accounts, a giving account. He's only asking for 10%, but he could ask for the whole thing if he wanted to. And so I always keep that in mind, that, it's never all mine. And if he ever comes and say, hey, Renee, I need it all, that I'm willing to do it. And therefore I end up having more than I could ask or think. You are worthy. What new habits will you pick up from this point on? I know I'm going to dust off my vacation jar.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting on that is when it was talking about, who you're associating with. And if you're trying to put yourself in that mindset, like to have like that one luxury experience each month, or to join an organization or go someplace where you're going to meet these people, to kind of get that contagious energy going. And that just had me really thinking. Of course, it's a little challenging, too, at the moment, just with the current COVID environment. But I'm thinking about, like, what places could you go? What kind of clubs could you go to kind of meet people and socialize and build that network? So that part definitely has had me thinking a lot.
I like that.
I think for me, the one part, and I forget exactly how he worded it, but he said about being a good, how did he say it? A good giver, poor receiver, or something. I can't remember exactly how he worded that. Yeah. But for me, that's a big thing that I know. And as I was reading it, I was like, okay, yeah, there we go. That's an area that I really need to kind of work on, I think, and that I struggle with. And honestly, because I love to give, to other people, but I have a really hard time receiving gifts. Perfect example, Christmas time, somebody in my small group, they had put a thing out that they were making, at Christmas time, they were making these great big wooden like coat hook things it's a really nice, whatever. And I said, yeah. And, they put it out that they were selling them to make them. And I had said, yeah, I'd love one or whatever. And, but because that was meant for everybody else, but the people that they were close to, if they wanted one, they were going to make one as a gift. but it was something that I just had a very difficult time receiving. I'm like, no, I have to pay you. I have to pay you, you know? And so that's where I get caught up a lot of times, is just really struggling with being able to, but then you take away from them something that they wanted to do nice for you. And
yeah, you take away their blessing.
Well, exactly. And it's just, that's an area that I kind of, because I was always brought up, that's the way I was brought up. Like, you don't ever take anything for free. I mean, you pay for everything that you know, and people don't just give stuff to give stuff. That's how I was brought up, you know?
That
And
feels-
those are things that we're letting go.
Mhm.
Yep. And that's why I like this book so much. I did a quick little video beforehand to let everybody know we were getting ready to do the thing. And that's why I like this book so much, is because how much of it teaches you the psychology of money, because it's one thing in a book to tell you, you know, okay, do X, Y, Z, do this to accumulate wealth. But if you're not learning how to, you know, get rid of those old mindsets that prevented you from gaining wealth to begin with, or from keeping it once you got it, then what's the point? You know, so that's why I really enjoyed this book, probably more than, you know, any of the other ones up to this point.
Well, that's good. And speaking of which, I guess we can go ahead and finish it. I think there's probably about 50 more pages or so left. So that'll be our last go round on the next 2 weeks. And so, and then the last one, manage your money well. And so that's one of the things that we've talked about is, you know, I can make money all day. I can make money all day. And I know how to keep it as well. But I think that I had to learn that over the course of time on how to manage well. And when you get that unexpected bonus, you know, we get excited, like, oh, shopping, here I come. And so I just take a minute just to calm down. And I'm like, oh yeah, Renee, you want to get your bathroom redone, or, you know, and then reality hits and I end up taking care of business versus splurging and then looking back like, oh man, I had the money, but I didn't use it well. So, but I'm going to say thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight. And I'm going to say goodbye for now. Turn off the recording.